everybody. Welcome to our webcast focusing on enhancing customer service through a multi-channel approach. I'm Christy Murfitt with Nuance Communications, and I'm going to be your presenter today. What I'd like to talk to you about today, I have two focuses of this presentation. I first wanted to talk about customer experience trends that Nuance is seeing, and the new solutions that we're bringing to market to address those trends and to deliver a differentiated customer experience, as well as a very tangible ROI, two things that we focus very heavily on and I think are very important. So when I talk about these trends that we're seeing in the market, there's a lot of conversation around companies wanting to satisfy their customers. And of course, businesses fundamentally know that the experience their customers have with them is important, and they know it can differentiate them. And when polled, there's very strong support for those areas. Many say that they are investing in order to differentiate themselves, and some even want to go the extra mile to delight their customers. Zappos is the online shoe company that has well-publicized stories of over-the-top service. I listened to one of their managers speak at a conference in the fall, and she shared stories of contact center agents going above and beyond. And one of the craziest stories she shared was about a guest that checked into the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas and forgot her shoes. And that guest called Zappos. And for anybody who likes buying shoes online, you know they have a very loyal following. So she called Zappos, where she had originally purchased the shoe, and was looking for a replacement. And they didn't have any in stock. So instead, the company found a pair in the right size at a mall near her and brought them and delivered them to the hotel, all for free. So those kind of stories of heroic efforts to delight customers and get attention, they really do get attention. But business leaders struggle with really building such acts into a concrete business plan. And fundamentally, I think a lot of us wonder, do those efforts drive widespread customer satisfaction? Is it really only customer delight for that one particular customer and the people they tell? And do they really drive tangible business results? So the other thing that we find that is a challenge is that customer needs and expectations are changing really rapidly. And when we talk about what does it take to meet customer needs, it's a really tough question to answer. Their expectations are changing at such a tremendous pace, and they're really correlating with the explosion of technology. So today's customers need interactive, intuitive, natural customer systems, and they're demanding multi-channel communications, and by multi-channel, they consider mobile and web and voice and social media. They also are looking for personalized service. I always think of the Amazon.com experience. I like doing business with them because it's easy. They remember who I am, they know what I bought, and they suggest items that are in line with my interests. So given all that, it's really not surprising that many contact centers struggle to meet customer expectations. Looking at this slide, 32% of consumers say that their customer service experience generally miss expectations. And I'm not at all surprised by that, and especially when you consider how expectations are evolving. So one of the areas that expectations are really changing is in email response times. So definitions of responsiveness and promptness from a service perspective have seen significant upward revisions in the last 18 to 24 months, from several days to within hours in many organizations. And in fact, some organizations are staffing for email contacts like phone calls and handling them as they arrive. The other stat on this slide talks about the percentage of calls that get to agents in a contact center that are customers that tried to use self-service and failed. obviously that's a space that Nuance plays in, and there are just we see so many opportunities to improve self-service success. And especially given that 70% of the consumers that Harris Interactive approached expressed interest in managing their accounts through self-service. Customers are willing and able, and in some cases prefer, to use self-service as long as it's easy for them. So there continues to be a lot of opportunity, and with consumers becoming so much more sophisticated so quickly, it continues to be important to invest in customer care systems to keep customers satisfied. So it's no surprise that the upsides of having loyal customers are really well documented. They tend to have increases in repeat purchasing. They tend to have an increase in overall spend. They have a decrease in price sensitivity. And overall, the cost of acquiring new customers tends to be much larger than retaining customers. So enterprises can really achieve clear benefits when they minimize that customer churn and generate sales from a loyal customer base. So customer loyalty is definitely an important topic. It's an important metric for for companies today, and it helps guide improvements and investments. The big question comes, and there's a lot of debate in terms of how do you build loyalty, and there's a huge amount of text dedicated to the subject of creating loyal customers. There are over 10,000 books on Amazon.com, and if you Google this, these are a few of the images that come up, but there's millions of results on Google. What I found really interesting was that some of the most recent research actually debunks the myth that in order to win loyal customers, you have to go that extra mile and delight your customers and exceed their expectations. In fact, the truth of the matter is far less extreme. Customers simply want their problem to be solved as easily as possible. So Harvard Business Review, a study published in Harvard Business Review last year, sampled 75,000 consumers, and it made some really interesting conclusions. And when you look at the things that drive loyalty, so consumers make a buying decision and they consider many things in the equation, and customer service is typically gets an equal weighting, it's an equal consideration. When you look at the disloyalty drivers, when we leave a company, customers leave a company most often because that company failed to deliver on customer service expectations. So there's a definite consumer impulse to punish bad service that outweighs the reward for delightful service. So by removing obstacles and streamlining an experience, or by reducing the customer's perceived effort to accomplish their goal, that's a really interesting area to focus on. So in the Harvard Business Review, there's this concept of the customer effort score. And the study proposes that it's customer effort, the ease at which they obtain service, that's really the true measure of loyalty, especially with self-service. So the key question for enterprises and to ask is, how much effort did the customer have to expend to do business with them, to get a question answered, to resolve an issue? And the study really finds that what consumers really want but rarely get is a satisfactory solution to their service issue. So while focusing on automating phone calls and automating interactions, we need to deliberately consider reducing the effort customers have to make. And doing so increases the likelihood that they'll return to the company and increases the amount that they spend there and speak positively and not negatively about that company. So in other words, that will they'll become more loyal. So to meet those expectations, interactions should really anticipate and head off the need for follow-up calls, minimize the need for customers to switch service channels, and focus on problem solving. and not necessarily the speed of a particular interaction, because it is about the perceived effort. So acting deliberately on this insight can really be beneficial. So that's where Nuance comes in terms of, and I wanted to introduce you to new solutions that we are bringing to market. Nuance Complete Care solutions are really a clear step in this direction. So for more than 20 years, Nuance has been delivering highly effective automated customer care interactions. As the consumer demand for multi-channel interactions has grown, we've evolved our solutions to deliver proactive communications via multiple channels. This is clearly an area where enterprises are investing, and it's very useful. There's a ton of demand. There's a ton of recognition that we need to offer consumers communications via multiple channels. However, the majority of investments to date have been discrete and disconnected from the customer care delivered through the contact center. So that's where we see an additional opportunity to connect the silos between proactive notifications and inbound customer service. So Nuance Complete Care solutions increase the value of every customer contact by integrating the inbound IVR interactions with multi-channel proactive communications. And they engage customers with smarter, automated conversations. And the result of that is decreased customer effort when interacting with the enterprises. So we are really talking about solving more customer problems with fewer calls.